I've got a business that now is draining the crap out of my energy, and I'm growing this massive resentment. And I honestly started to question, dude. I was questioning whether that entrepreneurial dream that I'd bought into from all the people on the internet talking about it and stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't know if this thing's real. I don't know. Are they all from the outside in? Everything was amazing. It was all internal that I was just struggling with it, right? We were making good money, had an amazing family. I wasn't grateful for what I had because I didn't know how to have me owning the business versus the business owning me.
Welcome to the RealPropPro podcast, where strategy, innovation, and wealth converge to redefine real estate investing.
Hello, and welcome to the RealPropPro podcast. I'm your host, Ian Dietler, fix and flip investor out of Sacramento, California. This show is about real conversations with real investors and real entrepreneurs who have built lives and businesses worth modeling. At RealPropPro, we train and coach people at all levels of real estate investing. We teach fix and flipping, lease options, sub-2, seller financing, tax deed and tax lien investing, as well as multifamily, and so much more. Our focus is to help everyday people build businesses that create freedom. You can learn more at RealPropPro.com. Today's guest is one we've been looking forward to all year. We're super excited to have him on the show. Trevor Mauch is the CEO and founder of Carrot.com, one of the most trusted platforms in the real estate investor and agent community. Carrot has helped generate millions of motivated seller leads for their clients. Their platform powers some of the top real estate businesses in the country. Trevor not only has built a software company used by thousands of investors and agents, but he's also built businesses that reflect his philosophy, creating freedom, buying back their time, and building something that they truly enjoy running. Beyond Carrot.com, Trevor is known for his ability to simplify complex business concepts into actionable strategies. From this widely followed teaching on the energy audit to helping entrepreneurs break through the growth plateaus at 3s and 10s, Trevor has also become a thought leader for real estate entrepreneurs and business builders everywhere. He's been featured on countless podcasts, stages, and masterminds, and is passionate about sharing what he knows with others to help them design a business that fuels their life instead of trapping them in. Trevor, welcome to the show.
Ian, I'm pumped to be here, man. And I never take it for granted when someone invites me on. So I appreciate you being here and sharing the time with me.
Awesome. Can't wait to get started. So on the show, we like to first kind of ask where people were born and where they grew up.
Dude, yeah. So I grew up in a small town called Klamath Falls, Oregon. I live in a small town today called Roseburg, Oregon, about 3 hours away. But yeah, dude, played baseball. My parents were entrepreneurs out of necessity, not out of choice. My dad had lost his job and we were struggling for money, and my mom started a business in the basement. And that was also the very thing, Ian, that made me not want to be an entrepreneur, is seeing how hard they had to work, the commitment nights and weekends. So I was not a guy who grew up in Klamath Falls and wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a very common theme. Like a lot of times kids will sometimes see how hard it is to be an entrepreneur and run a business by their parents. And sometimes that turns them off completely
Yeah.
from it. So it sounds like you kind of had that same experience growing up.
100%. Yeah. Cause the business that my mom had started in the basement and my dad started one a year or two later, there was a lot of weekend work. It was in the party industry. So we would literally be going and delivering tables and chairs and setting up tents for weddings and stuff. And you're setting it up on like a Friday afternoon and taking it down on a Sunday. And we would be, 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old out there helping our parents. Like, it's not like we were dragged out there and we hated it. I enjoyed being out there with them, but I also recognized that I didn't want to be tied to a business like that where we didn't go on a lot of trips at that time. It was a lot of working weekends, phones ringing late at night. Sometimes my dad would answer them to really serve the customer, which is amazing. That's what built the businesses. But it also made me go, man, it just feels like this thing owns us. But maybe they didn't feel that way. I don't know, but I know I
Yeah.
did.
So what kind of work were you doing early on, like once you started to, become a young adult and into
Yeah.
adulthood? Like what kind of jobs were you doing? It sounds like maybe that working in your parents' business was kind of first job. Was there any other jobs after that?
Yeah, dude. So I'm real comfortable with physical manual labor. I grew up doing a lot of physical manual labor. If I want like a release today, I go do physical labor somewhere. Like I enjoy just going and doing mindless work that requires the body to move. I don't want that every day, but I like it as a release sometimes. And so that led into landscaping. So my parents, when the business started to do good, they built a house, and I started really discover I like the design of landscape, and I'd sort of draw some things out, and we would bring the equipment that my dad had. He had a rental equipment store that he'd started. We'd bring that equipment. I learned how to use the little mini excavators and all the things, and we would make, amazing tiered lawns. We made ponds with little waterfalls and koi, and I enjoyed it. So from there, I got into construction. Like my first real job with other people was construction. I built a log home as a minion down there, the guy who would be sweeping the floors at the end of the day, but I was still out there doing the things. And then I actually went and did some landscaping jobs myself in college. I thought I wanted to build a landscaping company. And so I grabbed some of my college buddies on my baseball team, and we pitched some landscaping gigs to some people, and I would draw them up on a piece of paper, show it to them, and I'd go away and figure out a price, and then me and my buddies would just hammer out that landscaping job. We would work like 12 to 15 hours in the summers, getting it done as fast as we could, and then we would move on to the next. So I did a few of those, and discovered for me, I'm like, you know what? I enjoyed the creation part of it. There's parts of the labor part of it I like, but I'm like, I don't want to do this forever. So that then led into college with me having no clue what I wanted to do. Like no clue. I kind of thought I wanted to be in the medical field then, as a surgeon, until I almost fainted one time when I was in a class and I saw blood. I'm like, I don't think this thing's for me. So then I
Probably
had a
not.
yeah. So then I had a professor named Ari DeGroot, who was a business law professor. And he was passionate, dude. Like he was so passionate in the way he would talk about business law, which should have been the most boring thing in all of the school. For me, it was the most interesting because he's using real estate through it. He was a real estate investor. And I'm like, I want to be like him. And so I studied hard to get in law school, and I flunked the LSAT, the test to get into law school, 2 times. Like the second time I got worse. And I didn't get into any law school, got waitlisted on the one that everybody said anybody can get into. I got waitlisted on that one. And I'm like, well, I'm still going to do the other part. So other than those that I just walked through and working at the family business growing up, I never had a job. I went and acquired a four unit apartment building there by the college that I still own today. No money down, straight up Carlton Sheets out of the Carlton Sheets course. 30-year owner carry, no money down. It cash flowed from day one. I can't believe the seller sold it to a college kid who had nothing, who had no clue what he was doing. But I still own that one today. And that led me to going, well, I want to see if I can not get a job. So graduated from college, had this property, which isn't making any money. All that money's going into roofs and, painting in the future and toilets and stuff. But then we moved to Portland, Oregon, which, is the bigger city in Oregon for my wife's college. And I go, I'm going to give myself a year to not get a job. And that was one mindset shifting that I think is really important for people is commit to a time period that's long enough to make something work. And I think a lot of people, they try a couple things, it doesn't work for a few months, and then they quit. And I've really found that year time span. I'm going to give this my all for a year, and I'm not even going to think about quitting at all until I get to the end of that year. Then I'm going to ask myself, do I want to re-up for another year commitment? And so that year, I struggled and struggled and struggled, didn't get a job, found my way through trying to make a few bucks, trying to do some marketing consulting. And that led into me figuring something out that worked, that became a couple businesses and then eventually became Carrot.
Wow, that's a great story. I really like how you've tried a couple things out. You've tried to figure some stuff out. You figured out some things that seem like they will work,
Yeah.
when you're talking about working with doing what your professor was doing and trying to get into real estate investing, you'd build a couple other businesses before carrot.com. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yeah, yeah. So Carrot, we officially launched it in 2014. And so for those that are listening that aren't familiar, if you Google sell my house fast, insert whatever city, or we buy houses or cash home buyers or whatever phrase a motivated house seller or other land or notes are going to search, you're probably going to find a lot of Carrot sites at the top of Google and a lot of the biggest investors in the country using our platform and now our CRM, Carrot CRM. Nick Perry, other giant guys like Nick use that platform. So that's what we do. But the 6-7 years before that was honestly, Ian, just me putting in the work to even earn the ability to have the skills to launch something that would add that much value. And so when I got in Portland, that first year was me thinking I'm a marketing guy because I graduated with a marketing degree. And what I didn't realize is what they teach you in marketing in college was nothing to do with what works in marketing in the real world. And so I was just finding my way through, just trying to make some bucks to pay my bills. And I finished that year with $16,000 in credit card debt, which is the only credit card debt I've ever had in my life, because I was struggling to make some money. We paid for everything on that credit card that year. I paid for my taxes on my credit card that year, dude, which I don't suggest you do, but I did it. And so it was probably 8 to 12 months through that journey. The big thing that shifted for me that led into the first business that actually made any money, right? Was I was trying to always sell someone something. I was like, man, I need to make some money. I'm gonna get this offer in front of somebody and see if I can sell them this marketing service, right? And it was like, no, 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 just no's all day long. And so one time I'm like, you know what? Everyone's saying no. Why don't I just do it for free? Everyone's already saying no anyway. Let me just do it for free. So I just started emailing people and talking with people about their websites because I started to build a skill set over that year with websites and marketing. I would say it was a rookie skill set in hindsight, but it was more of a skill set than most other people had in those areas. And so I started emailing people and saying, hey, your website, there's a couple things that if you change these things, it'd really work. And I recorded little videos to them. At that time, using a tool called Camtasia, which people don't use Camtasia a whole lot anymore. It's like Loom is the thing now. And so I'd send them these Camtasia videos, walking through the website. If you would change this and make your title tag this and adjust this, it's going to work better. And of course, what happened, Ian, and I said, hey, send this to your web guy or gals, update it. I want to help you out. Let me know if I can help. Almost every single person answered back where the other ones weren't answering back when I was trying to pitch them a service. And they answered back with, that sounds great. I don't have a web guy. Can you help me make these updates? And so the first few, I just started making updates for free. I'm like, yeah, just give me access to this and make the updates. Okay, cool. And then I got this one guy, Mark. His name was Mark. He answered back. And Mark's like, hey, that thing you did, that was cool. It worked. He's like, I've got these other websites and this other business. Can I pay you to do more of that stuff? I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. Let's make that happen. So then I got my first paying client that way, just doing basic marketing consulting for websites using the basic knowledge I had about how to get a website ranked high in Google that I learned that year, and then how to make it convert a little bit better. And that turned into taking on some clients like that the next year or two. Next thing then, Ian, was as I started to get better and better at getting a website online and learning how to get traffic to it, and better at getting a website then to convert a visitor to a lead through those websites and another site that I had, then I go, shoot, I'm getting all this traffic. I'm getting these leads in the real estate market. I have nothing to sell them. And I started to learn from like the OG internet marketers back in the day, like Frank Kern and all those guys. And I go, man, I wonder if I can offer them value that is going to truly help them here. And so I had this he was the same age as me, had this kid make a comment on my blog, and he kept on commenting on these blogs and showed his experience in house flipping. He lived in Charleston, South Carolina. And I hopped on the call with him because I was done on blogging what I knew about. I was blogging on rental property stuff. I put like my property management forms online, tenant issues, things like that, some marketing stuff. And I ran out of topics. And so this guy knew a lot about flipping houses and raising private capital. And so I go, man, I've got all these leads in here. And this is in 2008 when private capital was really needed because the market was taking a massive shift. You couldn't get loans as easily for a house flip or something like that. And his name is Patrick Riddle. And so Patrick, who later became my business partner, we did a webinar to that list. I'd never done a webinar. I didn't know how to do it. I'm like, well, everyone come on. I've got this guy. He knows how to do it. He's raised like $10 million or $6 million, whatever the number was in private capital. I'm just going to have him just teach you guys what he knows. Got to the end of that, and there's like 50 people on the call, and people were like, hey, can we buy something? Like, is there anything we can buy to have him help us do this more? Because we can't get loans through the banks right now. And Patrick and I are like, to buy? We're on here for 2.5 hours. And we're just giving you everything he knows. And so then we go, okay, guys, like, what are the things you want to know? And then we created the list, and then we go, let's just do another webinar next week. So we did another one the next week, but we prepared and we said, dude, maybe we should actually come up with something that we can actually help them with now. Because we realized we weren't truly helping them if we couldn't take them all the way to the finish line to help them truly raise capital. So we came up with an idea. We go, well, let's take 20 clients, up to 20 clients, because that's what he could manage. And at the end of this, if people want help directly from Patrick, we'll do like a weekly call. They'll hop on weekly and we can map out the topics, and he can coach them through it, give him his forms, all that kind of stuff. And dude, at the end of that call, we had enough people fill out a thing. And then I hopped on with 20 people. I was able to get 19. So we didn't get all 20 purchasing, but 19 people paid $800 for this 6-week course with Patrick. That's what started my publishing company. And from there, we grew that company. And now today, I sold that half of that business to Patrick in 2012 after I got burnt out, which is another story. But today, that business does $30 million a year. And Patrick is like one of the experts in the industry on running paid traffic to offers in the real estate market. And it's cool seeing what he's done with this since then. That then led over about the course of the next year or two. I still did consulting. I invested with some of the money that we had earned into a couple software companies. So I started to learn what software was all about. And I realized, I'm like, I like that business model way better than the business model we've got over here, where it was transactional revenue. Every month we had to find new clients to serve, which is amazing. We get to serve new people, but it's hard because you start to feel trapped in that business. You're on an income hamster wheel. And I'm like, the software thing's interesting because if we can take what we know and put it in a software and add value to people, they would then be willing to pay for it every month. And I think that'll add more freedom. And so that's where I started to adopt the new money mindset of every business that I have today creates consistent, predictable, recurring revenue. Every business. But I'll stop there. Whole bunch of lessons I didn't hit on in between those, but that's kind of what led up to Carrot. And then Carrot, of course, grew into that 45 plus employees, 8-figure company, thousands of customers over the next 5-6 years.
Wow, what an amazing journey. And like you said, there's so much that got left out. I don't know where this fits in the timeline, but I've heard you speak about this a little bit in the past, and I think it's a really great story. Hopefully you could tell it to our listeners.
Yeah.
At some point you're working for someone and he's like, well, how do I get my business to show up at the top of Google search results? Can you tell us about how, where you were and how that happened and what the result of that was?
Dude, 100%. So in that first year, when I give myself that year to not get a job and just try to figure out the entrepreneurship thing, the guy who was paying me the most, he was paying me $1,000 a month. It was a mortgage broker up in Portland, Oregon. He was paying me to come in the office 3 days a week. And I was literally just cold calling Craigslist. I was helping him do random things. And we would kind of come up with some marketing ideas. We did some direct mail. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I was like learning on the fly. So I did a ton of cold calls for seeing if people who had for sale by owners wanted a mortgage. And it was the worst thing in the world. But I realized, of course, I'm like, I don't like that. So I got to figure out some sort of marketing that gets customers that is not that, because I don't want to do that anymore. And he comes walking over, and his name is Larry. He comes walking over, and there's, got the computer pulled up, and he goes, hey, can you pull up Portland Mortgage Broker in Google? Like, okay, I pulled it up and he goes, how do I get there? How do I get to the top of Google there? Because he goes, if I can get there, I think I can get some really good customers because they're typing. This would have been 2006 or so, 2007-ish. And so he goes, I think if I can get there, those are going to be really good customers because they're looking for a mortgage broker in Portland. And so he goes, can you figure it out? I go, yeah, I figured it out. I had no clue how SEO worked. I had made some websites, but those websites were pretty much driven. The leads were driven from Craigslist. I was posting things on Craigslist, getting people over to that website. I didn't know anything about getting a website ranked high. And so, and it was built, that website was built on GoDaddy, just whatever I could throw a website up on. And so I dove into learning and I found every resource I could online. I got him to buy a course or two on SEO. And what I started to discover was SEO is really focused on the content, right? It's like, can I create valuable content that answers the question that someone's typing in that shows that you're the trusted authority on this topic? And so that's when I started to learn how to write copy, right? Like, how do I take words and put words on paper or words on a web page? And he put the right words in the right order that address that conversation the prospect is having in their mind. And you build trust and you bring them through this journey. I started to learn how to get websites ranked really, really good. So his website kept climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. And I would just make all of these adjustments. The challenge happened then next scene was people got to the website, but leads weren't happening because it was with his crappy website that was on this mortgage broker software that was like, well, here's a website. We include a website too. And so I'm looking at it going, man, this website's ranking pretty good, but we're just getting barely any other leads. And the Google tool says that there should be more traffic on this, or there should be more stuff coming through here. And I would look at the analytics in the back end of that site, which back then it was way harder to get analytics. We had to log into the server, click this thing and see this report. And I would see the traffic going up, but leads were really negligible. So then that's where I'm like, oh, I'm missing something. Then I learned the conversion side of the picture. Okay, so I wrote the copy and the content to get it ranked well, but we didn't structure the website in the right way to then actually have someone make it easy for them to take the next step to raise their hand and say, yeah, I want to work with you. So that was what I dove into next. Understanding copy from the conversion perspective, understanding how to structure a website so it reduces resistance and makes it so people actually want to opt in and become a leader, pick up the phone and call. How to structure a website so it builds trust and guides them through that customer journey so you're the one that they want to work with. And so hit that hard for that next, 6, 7, 8 months. And that's when everything unlocked, dude. It's like, I can get in front of the best customers now because they're Google searching for an answer. They're motivated and I can convert them at a higher rate. That's when that started to blow up. And I turned that into that next business, turned that into, the consulting business where I would help other people do it, turned it into that publishing company because now we knew how to get traffic and convert it. We just didn't have anything to sell until Patrick came along and we created that business. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I love hearing that story and I love hearing how you just figured it out. Like a
Yeah.
lot of times that's really what entrepreneurs need to do is just
Yep.
go figure it out. And if you're not going to figure out how to have someone else figure it out for you,
Yep.
kind of like your boss did at that point.
Yep.
So how exactly did carrot.com get started?
Yeah. Yeah. So carrot.com, when we started it with oncarrot.com because couldn't get carrot.com and on carrot was the best I could find. In my mind, I was thinking like, oh, on carrot. Hey, what are you using? Well, I'm on carrot, right? And so the company name from the start has been Carrot or Investor Carrot. But around that time, so this would have been 2012 now. So we're fast forwarding a few years. Okay. So 2007-ish into 8 is when I started to master the SEO and the conversion from the mortgage side, took that into consulting with a handful of other companies, helping them do the same. Started that publishing business with Patrick in 2008. And then we ran that for about 3.5 to 4 years. And so during that time, I was starting to get burnout. Okay. I didn't know what I know today, Ian, of how to build a business that frees you. All I built was a business that trapped me. And so I was doing a lot of things in the business that paid off financially, right? People would say, oh, you're good at that, Trevor. So do more of it. And and they paid me well to do that thing. The problem is most of the stuff that they would tell me I'm good at and that I was getting paid well to do drained my energy like no other. And so 2010, we had our first daughter. 2012, we had my son. And so I'm in this period of time where I'm growing a young family. I've got a business that now is draining the crap out of my energy, and I'm growing this massive resentment. And I honestly started to question, dude. I was questioning whether that entrepreneurial dream that I had bought into from all the people on the internet talking about it and stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't know if this thing's real. I don't know. Are they all from the outside in? Everything was amazing. It was all internal that I was just struggling with it, right? We were making good money, had an amazing family. I wasn't grateful for what I had had because I didn't know how to have me owning the business versus the business owning me. And so I even thought about getting a job. Like, I don't know, maybe I just need to get a job where I can just be 5 o'clock, I'm done thinking about it. Right. I've got some skill sets. I bet I can get a good paid job. But I slapped myself, proverbially said, no, there just got to be a better way, because anytime I have a limiting belief like that, I learned from a mentor way back when to ask the question, has anybody ever done what you're looking to do? And so I remember writing down a short list of people that some I knew, some I didn't know. And this is 2012 now. And one of the guys on the list was a guy named Greg, a guy named Greg Clement. Greg and I were just at the Kentucky Derby together with his wife and my wife, literally right at the finish line this last May, right at the finish line. I mean, just the most epic seats at the Derby, and still a friend of mine today since 2012. And I had known Greg. He had a software company. He was in real estate, but it seemed like he was doing business different than I was. There was something from the outside in. He was still able to be with his kids, coach his kids' team. He was doing the things in his business that he loved the most. I'm sure there were things I didn't see, right? Because I'm not him and I'm not in that. But from the outside, it looked better than how mine was. And he started this mastermind, dude. Like, I'd never been a part of a mastermind, never had hired a coach at that point. I just put my head down and try to drive and do everything myself, right? Just pure grit, pure determination, drive through it. Whatever I can get for free, I'll get, or if I have to pay a few $100 for a course. And that was the extent of me asking for help. And so Greg sends this email out, and I wrote down the list. Greg's on the list. Richard Branson was on the list. I'm like, I don't know, Richard, but he's got a bunch of businesses, way more than me. It seems like he's still able to fit in joy and happiness, and it seems like he enjoys what he's doing. And I'm writing this list down. I go, so number one, it's possible to have a business that serves you. I just don't know how to do it. And so I had these businesses that were draining me. Okay. Making good money, but draining me. And so joined this mastermind, stroked a $19,000 check, which is way biggest check I'd ever stroked other than down payment for our house a couple years before. And I was nervous, but I'm like, if I just get closer to Greg, I think I might be able to learn some of this stuff. And so that was the only year Greg ever had that mastermind. He called it 7 Mastermind. And it was almost like God like placed it in front of that group of people. It's like, hey, this is what you need for that year. And it transformed a lot of us. And so one of the concepts Greg taught me that he learned from strategic coach, Dan Sullivan in the strategic coach program, was unique abilities, right? Is the things that you're amazing at, that add value to the world, that give you a ton of energy, right? And I'm like, man, unique abilities. I wrote down all the things that people told me I'm good at, that I made money at. I'm like, but the problem is those drain my energy. So through that year, learned from Greg. I joined strategic coach that same year, did a year of strategic coach. And through that coaching, I honed in and learned my unique abilities. It was the opposite of the work I was currently doing. Like, a lot of the things I loved the most that gave me energy, I couldn't figure out how I could make money doing them. And so I had to learn how to get the right people around me to delegate the energy drains to. Okay. So this is around that time period. I started to look at all the businesses that I had. I had 3 or 4 businesses at that time, all doing mediocre because my energy was getting drained, and I was trying to find a fix. Like, maybe I'll be happier if I get into this new business. Maybe I'll be happier if I invest in this one. I was just getting distracted all over the place. Right. And so I looked at it and I go, you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think if I just index on energy, and I just build my business focus on energy moving forward. And that's my main currency, not productivity or optimizing for money. I wonder if that will work better. Right. And so I looked at all the things I was doing and made a list of everything that was draining my energy. And I asked, can I transform that business in a way that I'd be excited about it and that it would give me most of the energy? And almost everything was a no at that time. So I cut it all out. I went from, earning $300,000 to $500,000 a year in those businesses, netting, close to the 200 per year, to earning $27,000 the next year. Taxable income, found the tax statement in my garage when we moved to our current house in 2016. The whole thing is there, made 27 grand that year of 2012. And so I had to go down before I went up. I cleared the deck, got focused, and then I wrote down, Ian, I said, okay, well, I'm going to build differently this time. And I wrote down, I go, I don't know what different looks like. I don't know what I want. Because when you're in a position like that where things are hard, sometimes you can't get clarity in what you want, right? Like people say, you just got to have a vision. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I want. All I can tell you was what I didn't like. And so just write down a list of all the things I didn't like about my businesses. And the main ones were like inconsistent income. It was, working on energy draining things. It was, I'm just pulling transactional income. I'm not building an asset. If I get hit by a bus, my family's income's gone. I'm way too distracted in 3 or 4 things. And so I thought, like, I don't know what I want, but I wonder if I just pick the opposite of those, maybe that is, and make it a positive statement. Maybe that's what I want. So I put consistent, predictable income, focus on one great thing I'm passionate about, work within my unique abilities, build a valuable asset, right? And I made 5 non-negotiables. And I pulled back and I said, okay, everything is gone now on my business plate. I can thank. I'm making a couple bucks in some consulting. That's where the 27 grand came from. And then I just said, good, I get to build from scratch. What business model matches these 5 non-negotiables? And let me go create a business that I think I can maybe do this. Took all my skill set in marketing and real estate and lead generation and online. And I had some websites online for real estate investors at that time through that publishing company. And I was getting ready to say, email all of them. There's about 100 of them that were paying like nothing. Literally, most of them were paying nothing on my server. And I was getting ready to send them an email and say, hey guys, like this is done. Here's your files. Feel free to take them wherever you want to take them. And then a contractor walked into my office. This would have been like 2013. A contractor walked into this building I'm in right now. A guy that I know. And he goes, dude, I've got this website like set up by GoDaddy or whatever. And he goes, I don't get any business from it. Do you know what to do? And I looked at it for 5 seconds. I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what to do. This, all these things are wrong with it. He goes, do you know anybody that can fix that for me? I'm going, man, no. Almost every web developer out there is just going to make something look pretty. It's something they're not going to make it perform. And it hit me. I had those 100 clients websites in the real estate space raising private capital. Those are private money sites at that time. They were working. I knew how to make a website produce revenue and business. This guy's wasn't. And I'm like, dude, I wonder if the next decade is all about online performance, making your website perform. The previous decade, 2000 to 2012, was all about just getting online, right? It was just getting online. Everyone's online. How do we make it work now? And so that's when I looked at those 100 websites. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't send an email to them and have them go away. Maybe I should see if I can make that a business. And I know the real estate market. I know no one's doing this well. They're all just making a thing with 35 templates. And you get to pick and choose whatever template you think looks prettiest. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing in the world, because that user doesn't know what works the best. They're just going to pick what they think looks pretty. That's the opposite of what drives performance. So we came in the market I said, you know what? A 1-year contract with myself, just like I did at the start. I'm going to give myself 1 year to focus on seeing if this thing can be a viable business. And if I make it past that year and it seems like it can be a viable business, I'll do another year. And so that was mid 2013. I started that 1-year contract with myself. Things started to kind of work. We entered the market with one template, because we're like, this template with data and science is going to perform. And that blew up. And then we started adding more designs and more templates and stuff like that based off of science and data to drive performance. But dude, I've ran Carrot to this day with 1-year contracts with myself. Every year, go, cool. What's the mission I'm on this year? Am I excited to be on it? If not, what do I need to change? And I think the second that I get to a spot where I'm not ready to re-up that 1-year contract or the 1-year commitment with myself, and I'm not excited about what's next, then I'll make change. whether it's selling the company or bringing in another leader or whatever, but I haven't hit that yet.
You had talked about doing an energy audit
Yeah.
back when you kind of started. Can you explain to the listeners kind of what that is and how a person can do that for their own personal life and business life?
It's funny, I actually had this energy audit up right here. So, um, I'll verbalize it for those listening on the
Yeah.
podcast. So this would have been in that 2012 region, that time period. Like, so when I was starting to really ask the question, what am I optimizing my business for? What am I optimizing for? Am I optimizing my activities for revenue and profit? Am I optimizing my time and schedule for productivity, or am I optimizing it for energy? And because I'd done those previous two things, optimizing for money and optimizing for productivity the previous 4 years, and it didn't work to make me happier, it trapped me in my business. I said, well, I already know money plus you being wore out and burnt out is not a good equation. What if I were to just focus on energy, and maybe if I focus on things I love and I'm the greatest at, maybe eventually money will follow, right? But the order is not money and productivity. I hope joy comes. It's focus on energy and joy, and if you do that enough with enough passion, the money will flow because you're really good at it, right? And so I did a line down the middle of the paper. So this energy audit I'm showing on the screen is the fancy version of it that I use today. I use this every single quarter in my workbook. I've got something I call my 2020, it's my annual workbook. And I use this with my coaching clients. So I've got about almost 40 coaching clients inside of the Carrot ecosystem. They're all people doing at least 300K a year. The biggest ones, they bought 500 houses last year. And my aim is, like, the question is, what happens once you get to 300K a year and you've got enough money to maybe delegate a thing or two, but now you're busy and you're starting to get to that spot where you're like, dude, this business is starting to kind of own me. We need to then step in to learn how to build a business that you own and doesn't own you. And this is one of the things I do every quarter. So every quarter, one of those keys is the energy audit. And you guys can, you guys can actually get this. So carrot.com/energy. So carrot.com/energy. I've got this up there free, and I'm pretty sure I've got a workshop video up there where it's like a 40-minute video of me going through, diving deep on the principles behind this and diving deep on how, where, when to do this workshop. And you'll get the worksheet too. Okay. But if you guys don't want that, grab a piece of paper, put a line down the middle of the paper, and then put energy gives and energy drains on the other side, on either side. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go, okay, you can either do this when you're getting burnt out, Ian. So that's one trigger. One trigger is, man, I'm just like wiped out, feel so busy, I'm getting burnt out. Or the other way, which I've started doing the last 6-7 years, is proactively. Like, how do we
Hmm.
proactively prune? And I do this every quarter proactively. And or if I do feel a season where I'm like, oh, geez, it just feels like I'm getting my energy drained, I'll put the energy out of it. Okay. So I'm gonna write down all the drains first. Like, what are all the things you can think of that are draining your energy in your business or just life in general? Man, I don't like this thing. I don't like these meetings. Honestly, meeting with this person, that person trains me. Or I don't like executing anything. Or I hate it. I don't like email. I don't like being like, write anything at all. Give yourself full permission to write all of the things that drain your energy. Okay. Full permission. And then over on the other side, right, energy gives. Like, what are the things that give you energy in life and business? Especially the things you're not doing. And that's the key, is you need to write down the things, like, if you love working out and it gives you energy, but you haven't worked out in 6 months because you got too busy, write that down. If you love doing podcasts like this, but let's say you don't have a podcast yet and you're like, I have no clue how I can make money doing that. If it gives you energy when you're done doing it, write it down, right? So you write down all those things. And the next one I started to do is every quarter, I started to look at these energy drains and circle the one or two drains that I felt were draining me the most right now. And I would write down how many hours, each one of those I was probably using each week. And just finger in the air guess, right? Man, that's probably like 6-7 hours a week on that one and 6-7 hours on that one. That's 13 hours a week across those two drains. Now, the trickiest thing, Ian, is oftentimes those things are actually things that drive revenue. And so you're looking at it going, dude, how am I going to delegate those? Like, that's what keeps my business alive. I don't want to take any more seller calls, but I have to, because that's what keeps my business alive, or whatever the thing is. And so then next, I heard a quote years ago: "What's not measured can't be moved." And so then write down on there what percentage of your average work week is draining your energy. Just finger in the air. What percentage of your average work week is giving you energy? And kind of what I started to discover is when I first did this, I was 80% of my work week was draining my energy and about 20% was giving it. I was like, no wonder I don't like my job right now. No wonder I don't like my business right now. It was structured in a way where I was making choices that almost everything I did drained my energy. And when that happens, you get busier. You think I need to work harder. We start to cut out the very things that give you joy outside of work. You cut out the workouts because I'm so busy. I got to keep working. I got to get past this goal. You cut out the date nights or the date mornings with your spouse. You cut out the hang time with your friends. You cut out the hobby that you were doing because I just can't justify going out and golfing on Thursdays now because I got to get this done. And one by one, we think that working more is going to help us, putting our heads down and working more is going to help us get through it. But, the quote that I heard years ago, I think it's an Einstein quote. It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different outcome. And so we think if I just work more and work harder, I will get a different outcome. No, you're going to drive deeper and deeper into that burnout faster. You're not going to get out of it. And so the opposite, I started to do this. I go, what if I started to add in these things into my calendar and life, even if they didn't drive revenue? I just add them because they give me life. Add the workouts back in, add the hobby back in, carve out time on my calendar that I was working, that I felt guilty for not working, and go, no, I'm doing this because it gives me energy. And then my very first action items every quarter are taking those things that drain my energy and going, I'm going to delegate these things. Or I'm going to figure out how to learn how to delegate. The hardest challenge from 300K to $1 million is delegating. It's working through other people. And so that's why I was stuck in that $300,000 to $500,000 mark and why I hit the pain line, because I did not know how to delegate. So I go, I've got to learn this thing. Otherwise, I'm going to have a business that owns me forever. Okay. And so that's hard. Delegation has been hard for me, but I've learned it over the years. And so I would look at that. My first projects for the quarter are, okay, let me find a person to help me with this. Let me make a process on this. Let me train them, and let me figure out what metrics are the metrics that I can now look at on a weekly basis to determine if that thing's being done right. And let me learn how to coach. And that took me years. You do that, dude, every quarter. Over time, it went from 80% energy drain to 60. And I'm just kind of using their gut numbers, right? If you're over 50% energy gives, you probably enjoy more of your work week than not. If you're wiped out and burnt out, and you're like, oh my gosh, this feels like an endless pain train, you're probably way under 50% of your energy or of your work week's energy giving. I've found 80% energy give is like you're crushing it. You're loving your business, you're loving life, you're doing your art, you're driving momentum. There's always gonna be things we don't love, but the practice here, Ian, is picking it up and proactively pruning. I would say right now I'm at 70. There's a couple things I gotta get yanked off that I kind of built back up this last 60 days. So I do this every quarter. You do this every quarter. It took me 2 years to go from 80% energy drains to about 60 to 70% energy drain or energy give.
I'm so glad you talk about this and teach us to either new entrepreneurs or seasoned entrepreneurs, people that have businesses, because I feel like a lot of times so many people are just working so hard and doing all the stuff that is so draining, like you said,
Yeah.
that I feel like it really affects their health, not
Yep.
only physical health, but mental health as well. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you see some business owners like stressed all the time, and it's like,
Yep.
a little bit of stress here and there, that's fine, it's healthy. You got to manage some stress and you're going to
Yeah.
deal with some hard stuff. But if you're stressed all day every day, not sleeping right, like not eating right, not exercising, there's so many downsides to it. And it's like, man, we really got to take care of our mind and body as entrepreneurs and as business owners.
You've got to, right? Like a question that popped up for me, and this is probably 5 or 6 years ago. I wish I had this question in 2012. I just didn't have it. Was I was going through another season, right? We hit another level, and I hit that next pain line at that next 3 or 10 in revenue. 100 things break in business at 100,000, 300,000, million, 3 million, 10 million, 30. I had hit one of those other lines, and it was a pain line. You 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 can't avoid the pain line. Sometimes if your identity, if you've been able to grow personally really fast, sometimes you can fly through that level quicker with less pain, but there's always gonna be some level of pain. And I was asking this question because I was in a season during that probably like 8 to 10 months where it doesn't happen immediately. Like it usually creeps in where you start to go, "Whoa, what happened, man?" Like, I feel like my days and my week are just I'm not loving them anymore. It's not like a moment that just happens. It creeps in. You adopted one more commitment. This one employee you had to let go or they left, and now you've got these other commitments, and then a couple hard things happen in business. This weird season happened. Now you've got these other things, and then I gotta cut the hobbies out, and I start to lose energy. And then you're just locking into this pain train that you've created for yourself in your calendar. And then after a month or 2 months or 3 months, you go, dude, I've got to get out of this. And so the question popped up of, well, what did I hire my business to do for me? Right? Because I had hired employees, I'd hired contractors, I'd hired consultants, and you hire them to do a certain thing. And if they don't do that thing, what do? Well, we change it. Right? We talk with them and we adjust it. We get a new tool, we get a new consultant, we coach the employee. If they can't get there, we bring another person in. But all too often, we as entrepreneurs are too okay with sitting in a business that is draining us because of the glorification of the grind of the da 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 da. And so I asked that question. I go, well, if I hire these people to do these things and it doesn't work out, I change them. What did I hire my business to do for me in my life? Is it doing it? If not, what do I need to change? And so then that's where I always think about that today. Like, what did I hire this business to do for me? And the three things that I have hired my business to do for me, right, I've discovered over the years are these. The first one is work is not about making a bunch of money and growing my ego. It was at some time, I'll tell you that. It was pretty cool hitting Inc. 5,000 list 5 years and all this stuff. And you're the fastest growing company guy all of a sudden, right? And but for me, I want work to interest me. You know, your job and your work should give you work that energizes and interests you more often than not. All right. Number two thing that I feel a business should do for you is it should fund the vision, right? Meaning you should have some sort of a vision for what it is that what it is you want your life to be. Like, what's the ideal average day? I teach my coaching clients in my Epic program, my coaching program, that are entrepreneurs, 300K and above in real estate. Most of them are I would say around the $750,000 to 5 million a year in revenue. Most are right around there because that's when things kind of get hard. You got a couple things delegated, and now you have to start replacing yourself in key areas post 1 million. And they start to question whether I want to grow the business or not. They hit the pain line, they start to settle, and then they go, why am I even building this thing in the first place? And they want to keep growing it because they get masterminds, and this guy's got a higher revenue, so I need to get my revenue higher, right? It's just this game. So I said, well, no, your business should fund your vision. It shouldn't make any more money than what your vision requires, because every dollar above what you're actually trying to hire the business to do to fund your vision is a diminishing return. And then we have to ask the question, is growing the business because of ego, because of dirty fuel, because of trying to keep up with the Joneses, because of a limiting belief or a lack where I don't want to I want to feel special and people see me as this guy that's up here? Or am I growing the business truly because I've got clarity in what business I'm trying or what life I want and what I'm hiring this business to do? And then the last thing is I think your business should give you it should help you make an impact that you're proud of. So for me, those are the three things that you hired the business to do. And as we're going through these challenges, as we're going through these seasons, we always have to pull back and say, okay, how do I make my work interest me and energize me today? What do I need to cut out of it? It doesn't have to be in the future. It can literally be this week. It's behind a decision and a calendar change. You can change the energy, you can change the focus in your work today by looking at your calendar and saying, I'm going to add these things back in my life. I'm going to make a decision that it's important, and I'm going to make a calendar change right now to make sure it happens. Right? Decisions, calendar changes. So that's how I treat those decisions around business, if that makes sense.
There's a topic that you've touched upon twice now that I noticed that I really wanted you to dive in deep
Yeah.
because when I was at Deal Champs listening to your keynote, which was absolutely amazing, by the way,
Oh, appreciate
but when I was sitting there listening to you talk, You'd brought up this really cool subject about threes and tens and how
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
different pain lines at those threes and tens. Can you dive in deep with the listeners on that? Because
Yeah.
man, it just blew my mind when I heard you talking about this, and like you said, it
Yeah.
just happens all the time. There's no getting around it.
Dude, 100%. So I can't take credit for the threes and tens. So I read a
Okay.
book by a guy named Clayton Mask. He was the founder and CEO of Infusionsoft, which became Keep. Okay.
Okay.
And I got to know Clayton. He wrote a book, and I don't know if he got this from somebody else, but that's where I learned it from. And I think he wrote the book in like 2009 called Conquer the Chaos. And he had talked about the threes and tens, and that's the first time I ever heard of it. Here's the thing though, Ian. When I read it in probably 2010, I had no context for any of that because I had not really gotten to the spot where I thought that I was hitting a pain line. We were over the 300K mark, but I'm like, yeah, threes and tens, blah, things are okay. And I filed that away. And then I didn't revisit that until into the carrot journey and put the two and two together to go, oh my gosh, it all matches up perfectly. And then I started to kind of map out. I took the threes and tens concept and I expanded it. And I said, well, what type of business do I want to build? Right. And for me, I wrote this at the coffee shop literally across the street from my office building here. And I wrote in the middle of it, I said, well, what is the end aim of being an entrepreneur? What's the end aim of growing a business for me? This isn't going to be the same for everybody, but I believe it likely is very similar for most. And it's freedom and impact, right? We want freedom and impact. If we just have freedom without impact, that's pretty boring. You end up getting wore out and you feel like you're empty inside. Like, what am I doing this for? If you have impact without freedom, you're like, man, this is cool, but I just feel like, this thing owns me. So for me, it's a level of freedom and a level of impact that you're pumped about. So then we asked that question of, well, how do we get that? So I started wrestling with it, asking myself in the seasons of my business, and this was like I said, I think 2016, 2017, 18, when I was writing that. And I had a lot of success up at that point. Made millions of dollars now by this point. Fastest growing company awards were starting around there, all kinds of stuff. And I just said, well, these are the things for me that would equal freedom and impact. Well, you should have purpose, right? You should have some level of vision or some level of reason why this business is important to live in the world versus just making money, right? Next thing is, well, we need to have a business that kicks out consistent profits. We need to have a strategy and a business model that creates consistent revenue, because it's not consistent, we can't get freedom and we can't make the biggest impact, right? And then over here, we need to be able to figure out how to get our time and energy back. Okay. And so if we have a business, then I'll go into the levels, because what the levels came after this. Okay. The levels came after this. And I'll tell you why the levels are so important in conjunction with this. If you guys are watching this on the video is going to unlock it for you. If you're listening to this on the audio, you can get this and the levels. Just go to my personal website. There's no opt-in on it. It's just on the page. It's trevormauch.com/freedom. I'm pretty sure. So trevormauch.com/freedom should give you this entrepreneur freedom formula graphic I'm talking about and the levels I'm about to talk about. Okay. So what happens is we start out with a vision, right? We start out with a vision. There's something that we want to move away from, a pain, whatever it is, or there's something we're excited about moving towards. We create this vision. Man, I don't like my job. I see that there's these people that seem like they like real estate and they have freedom. I want that. I've got this vision now for this freedom. So that's where we usually start. We have a vision, and then we start to learn and go, I got to make a strategy so I know how to make this business. And then you hustle your butt off and you're in the hustle and grind mode for a period of time, and you start to make some money and you're doing impactful work that you like, and you've got some income that's getting more and more consistent, but your business owns you now. You're like, dude, I have no time. I'm making 150K, 300K a year, not enough to hire a bunch of employees. And dude, maybe I still have my job. Maybe I haven't left the job yet. Maybe I just did. And you're like, dude, I just feel like this thing owns me right now. I have no work and no time for anything else. So now we need to keep going around this clockwise, and we need to get our energy and time back. Okay. So the first thing is doing that energy audit I talked about. We need to understand, what is it that I need to delegate first. You delegate the energy drains first, not the things that give you energy. And then you add more of the things that give you energy and drive the business forward. And then you make a playbook, right? What's a playbook? It's a good process that shows how to do that thing you've been doing. We've got processes and models in my Epic group to show how to make playbooks, and we give you the playbooks and do all that stuff, right? And then over here, we take those playbooks and we delegate, or even better, you hire the right person, have them make the playbooks, like have them shadow you and make the playbooks. Amazing. If you've done all this well, which this is hard, I've got something I call the repeatable process builder, which is the best way to delegate. I teach that to my clients. Let's say you delegated this, you got your time back now, and the business is consistent. This might be 2 to 4 years into the business. You're at this spot now where you're like, man, what's next? Like, it's 2 to 3 years, 4 years into the business. I don't really want to run the business anymore. I was excited about that, and I'm making some good money, but I don't like running it. And so what happens is we get distracted. You go start another business because you like the startup. You invest in this other business. That's what I did in 2008 through 12. I got distracted, right? What's next? I want to do something new. And so if you do that, you're on this continual churn and burn cycle, I call it, because you're never learning how to upgrade your identity, because your business will never outgrow your identity. Okay. If you personally grow a bunch, your habits, your standards, your disciplines, your limiting beliefs are shed, your identity will grow, and you get around the right new people. Your business has no choice but to grow. Now, if you stagnate out, your business has no choice but to level out where your identity is. And so I teach my clients what I call an identity upgrade. And every year I want my clients to go through an identity upgrade. You figure out where you want to go, match with that personal vision. Because at this point, you may not have a vision big enough to take your vision bigger. Like, I don't know, I kind of reached what goals I had set, right? And that's a hard place to be in, because you get in default mode and you start to go into frustration and distraction, and you start to feel empty. And so we upgrade the identity. The vision has no choice but to expand now, because we're getting rid of those limiting beliefs that are holding your bigger vision back. And now we upgraded our vision. And now you go around this thing again. Okay. So here's where the levels came in. I was coaching clients with just this tool here. And I was talking to one guy doing 350K a year, and I was talking to another guy doing 7 million a year. And under each one of these things, strategy, leverage, energetic playbooks, delegation, under those things, at different levels of revenue, you delegate different things. It's different playbooks. It's different strategies, right? It's different identities that we need to step into, and different ones we need to leave behind. And so I took all of that and I said, well, let me take those things from the entrepreneur freedom formula that I just walked through, the identity, purpose, vision, strategy, marketing, leverage, energy, process, delegate, and ask the question across those 3s and 10s I got from Clay. This took me about 1.5 years to do through tons of reps with myself and coaching clients. Let me map out the pain line that you hit at every single one of those levels. Let me map out what your team likely needs to look like at each level. And let me map out the identity that you need to adopt to grow into and grow through that level, and the identity that you need to adopt to move up to the next one, and all the way through. And so this is what I do now, Ian. So yeah, things do break. You hit these pain lines where things get hard, momentum slows. You maybe start to adopt more things in your calendar again that drain your energy. You start to second guess things. You maybe start to settle and say the previous level down here was, man, I'm doing 2 million. It was hard. I was netting more at 750 a year and having more fun. I'm going to go back. I'm going to settle back to 750 a year, right? Which that's okay. I don't care if people settle back down, as long as it's not based out of fear or limiting beliefs, as long as it's a deliberate decision that business is what's going to get you your life vision. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I really wanted to get into some AI stuff, because on this show, we really like to talk about AI, and I know that you're just going to be like an expert on that. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that. So maybe we could try to set something up in the future.
I'll plant some seeds now. So I'll kind of give people the preview. And we've got some really good content we've been putting online on the carrot side of things that people can go dive into. So if you guys want to know the impact of AI in Google search, go to carrot.com/blog. And we have a really good blog post the team made over there. It's probably down in there a little bit, that really digs deep on how do you leverage Google search still in the AI world. But I'll give you a brief of it. So that the high level of all the things I learned through the years, the engine that drove that revenue, the engine that drove that from start to finish, from 2006 to today, was learning how to attract the most motivated leads, the highest intent leads through the internet. All that entire journey, this has been the one thread that's tied through the whole thing, right? Because I found that when you go after the most motivated, highest intent leads, that you actually get a more consistent, predictable business. Okay, so going back to entrepreneur freedom formula, building a predictable, consistent business, I had evergreen on there as one of those 3 items in that consistent profits. I always want to build the foundation of my marketing on what I call evergreen marketing. That's marketing that I do once, that you put on the internet, or an offline marketing version of evergreen marketing is networking, right? It's building your network. You got to put a lot of work into it. A lot of heavy lifting before you see any fruits of the labor. But after you put that energy into it and effort into it, over the course of time, you start to get all these referrals, right? Well, online evergreen marketing is the same. When you launch that authority hub or lead generation hub, which is a well-optimized website, which we've been the pioneers of in this entire industry for over a decade. Most of what you see in the industry now in other companies' websites are pretty much copying the science that we baked into it. And so we've been using AI now to advance it even further. And we're building in, this is something on the books that we're working on. We're building automated optimization to our platform, automated page speed optimization, automated conversion optimization, and then eventually automated SEO optimization. These are all on the roadmap for the coming 12 months. Because we
Wow.
understand that people, as they're learning to do this, most people don't want to do the work. And so
Yeah.
we're going, now that we have AI and we have all this data from millions of seller leads and other types of leads, can we help advance and automate as many of these things as possible for our members, right? Because the biggie is, in this business, if you're a wholesaler, your average profit per deal might be, let's say, 20K. People might go get the free website they get from the all-in-one, right? The free website from whatever all-in-one platform is their choice, and go, well, dude, it's a website. It looks a lot like Carrots. Well, we've done so much testing that the nuances are where the gains are at this point, because everyone else has emulated our model. The
Mhm.
nuances of whether it's page speed or the position of something, those other tools copy on the face what we do, but they don't understand the science that went behind why that does that. And so if you lose just one deal because of a slight under optimization, you just lost $20,000, which is multiple times more than what it would cost to leverage our platform, which has the data and science baked in, right? But that authority hub is your homepage should basically be the central part. This is really for conversion. Okay. This is for conversion and brand. You want to be able to tell that story, bring people in, make it insanely easy for them to opt in and convert on that website, especially on mobile. Okay. So that's number one. We have a model for how to do that in our websites from day one. Set you up with the model, and then we encourage you to go through and customize it. Your own photos, your stories, your testimonials, things like that. And we have services that can help. Number two, then, is you want to start to cast a wider net. And let's say you want to start to get leads in your market for people that are looking to sell their house or sell their land or whatever it is. Well, just like Zillow, right? When you Google search XYZ properties for sale in whatever city, you're usually going to find Zillow and Redfin and stuff like that up towards the top of Google, right? So, but it's never Zillow.com's homepage. It's always a page Zillow set up specifically for that city or that state or that type of property. Okay. Google wants things that are tailored for that search. So you want to set up location pages for every single type of business or location you do business in. So if you're a wholesaler and you're looking for sellers, you want to set up a separate location page for every state that you're in. It's like, hey, sell your house quickly in Oregon. Here's the button. Talk about how you serve people in Oregon, show pictures, show Oregon sellers, show Oregon deals. And then in Oregon, pick every city you do business in, and each one of those should have its own page. Okay. And there's some ways to set them up together that our system does for you. But that's the basics of it. That's where you're going to get traffic. Okay. If you're on a highly optimized platform. The third part then, it's kind of more like authority and trust. Okay. So this is where the AI world comes in. So people have been asking, well, is AI killing SEO? And the answer is no, AI is not killing SEO. The fundamentals of SEO, Google came out with something years ago, Ian, called EAT, EEAT. which is expertise, or maybe it's even expertise, experience, authority, and trust. Okay, show that you have expertise in that thing. Show that you have experience doing that thing, solving that problem. Show that you're an authority on it. You aren't just you don't just know it, but other people link to you. Other people talk about you. People are searching your company online. It shows you're an authority. And then trust is show the reviews. Show that there's actual deals you've done. Show case studies of it. Show the reviews on Google My Business. The more that you focus on those fundamentals of not just having basic information on your website or in your ads. No, I'm gonna show I've been doing this for 10 years. On the website in your bio, you should show I've bought 314 houses. You should show real deals, real case studies, real sellers, real properties, and don't just talk about that you can buy a probate property. Below that, say, for example, we bought Johnny's property. Here is his situation here in Biloxi, whatever. And if you want to have the same thing, and here's Johnny's testimonial, click this link or opt in and we'll help you too. All of those things are feeding into enabling you to rank higher in Google's AI summaries. So the same things that make your website rank high that we've been talking about for years, the fundamentals are the same things we're finding that are driving getting you included in AI search summaries in Google and in ChatGPT. So we've been seeing ChatGPT and AI search summaries and even Grok leads in the lead sources in our platform for the past 8 to 9 months. Oh, GPT lead. This one came from Grok. This one came from whatever. So that it is happening right now.
Yeah, so that's a whole topic that I'd love to talk to you more about when we have a
Yeah.
little bit more time. Every week we do a free book giveaway. Here's some of the titles that we're giving away. We have The 10X Rule, The Go-Giver, The E-Myth Revisited, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and Rich Dad Poor Dad. So to enter, all you need to do is like this episode and comment which book you'd like to receive. And 7 days within the air date, we'll pick one lucky winner and send it to their house or mailing address for free. Trevor's story reminds us that building a business isn't just about money. It's about designing a life that doesn't trap you. Do an energy audit, figure out how to buy back your time, and grow through the pain lines. And above all, remember, tomorrow isn't promised. So build a business that gives you freedom, fuels your family and loved ones, and protects your legacy. Thank you so much, Trevor. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate all of the amazing information and knowledge you've shared with our listeners. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you a huge thank you again, and we'll see if we can make some time sometime in the future to get some of these other topics covered in a little bit more detail. But
For
again,
sure.
thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Dude, I appreciate you, man. Thank y'all.
Great. Thanks. Have a nice one.